Hello everybody, welcome back to Granted Gardens. My name is Melissa and today we're talking seeds. So over the weekend, Tyler and I sat down and went through our seed collection and we did two things. First and foremost, we reorganized our seeds. Previously, I had my seeds stored in this container, seeds and bulbs. And this cute little drawer set. It's just 3 little drawers. I think I got this off of Recycle. And so I kind of had like my vegetables, my greens, and my flowers, something like that. So it wasn't working for us anymore. And it was really hard to find what you were looking for. I tried to have organization in this little drawer system, but by the time that you actually like opened it up, things just kind of flew out at you. So we actually got this little container here for Christmas. You can find this at places like Walmart or Amazon. I think they said it's made for like movies. I don't know. Maybe photos. I don't know. But it's very popular here in the garden community because people keep their seeds here. And then my friend Samantha used her Roots and Refuge stickers and decorated hers, so I copied her idea and kind of decorated the top of it with our Roots and Refuge stickers. But I think they're really cute. So what's nice about this is that you've got this nice little portable container. You can carry it up and down steps instead of having to like carry these bulky weird things. And then when you open it up, they can be kind of divided out, so I'll show you. So this is what it looks like. You can just pop this open and open her up. Now, we did try to use my little handheld label maker, but it doesn't look like they're wanting to stay. So I might have to break out the Cricut instead. Anyways, so the concept here is that they're all in little containers. So like this one here I have labeled beans, and then you can just kind of open them up, and then you have all of your seed packets nicely tucked away in their own little space, and it's great for storage. So I'm not at all sponsored by this company or anything. This is just what I use. I did get it off of Amazon. I will go ahead and add this to our Amazon storefront. So if you're interested in getting one, you can just find the Amazon storefront link below and you can go on and order one for yourself. Tyler and I had gone through our entire seed collection and pulled seeds that we want to use for this year, whether it be cold crop, so like our stuff that we're going to start now and be picking from, before the heat of spring really sets in, and stuff that we're going to plant in the garden for the spring-summer garden. And here they are. Oh no. Every year, Tyler and I sit down and we talk about what our overall purpose for the garden is going to be. At least a few years ago, maybe longer, our biggest goal was to just really understand the process. Tyler had added on to the garden beds. This is our first time that we were actually dealing with substantial amount of space. Now, granted, for many of you, our garden is much smaller than what you have. But for us, that was, this was the biggest garden we've ever had. And so we were just trying to understand the process of, do we go to the store and buy started plants? Do we start them from seed? We didn't have like a decent seed growing station. So like that was a struggle. We were just trying to learn all of that. And if you're in that stage and you want to like live vicariously without making the mistakes, go back to some of our old videos. We've got like rinky-dink little indoor greenhouse setups. I mean, we've got all kinds of stuff that when we were in that learning process. So make sure you go back and check those out if that's where you are. Now, obviously we've progressed quite a bit since then. So about 3 years ago, my goal was I wanted to just get my hands on all of the crazy stuff. The stuff that I've never tasted before, the stuff I've never seen. I wanted to try new and fresh and exciting things that, some people would look at and be like, that you can eat that? You know what I mean? Like I wanted to try all the weird crazy stuff. And so I did. And that was the year of the colorful tomatoes for me. that year you saw the painted lady tomatoes, the green zebra tomatoes, the Berkeley tie-dye tomatoes. I mean, we had the most colorful tomatoes ever. And like that was that year. That was what I did. And we tried all kinds of stuff. I think like that was our first year of loofahs. We've ever tried loofahs. We were just trying just new things. And that's where the seed catalogs come in handy. It's really fun because you get to see weird stuff, stuff that you can't go to the grocery store and find on the shelf. So then last year, my goal was to try and start narrowing down for productivity. I wanted to see just how much food we could really grow on the space that we have to eat fresh and to preserve. So last year was my first year with a pressure canner. I had been water bath canning prior to that, so I was familiar with that, but last year was my first year with a pressure canner, so that opened up the door for me to be able to can things that are low acid, such as green beans. So that was kind of where my focus was. Now this year, I really wanted to dial down more into that, and my initial game plan was to hit productivity 100%. I wanted to pick everything stuff that I had already grown before that I knew did well, and that was what I told myself I was going to do this year. I didn't exactly stick to that, but I think for the most part I did pretty good. For the most part, all of this is stuff that we have grown before that I'm confident will do well. There are some new things in there though. So I have a lot of seeds on this table right now that were set to grow for this year. But I am just going to highlight a few of them. All right, so we're going to start off first with some of the cooler weather crops that I want to grow this year. So when I say cold crops, what does that mean? That means these are things that we can start growing now indoors and that we can put outside while the weather is still cool. These are plants that can handle very cold temperatures without dying off. So these are my cold crop plants that I'm planning on starting like now. So just to highlight, I have a lot of lettuces in here. Lettuce is something that we buy from the grocery store all the time. And I'll buy like 3 or 4 heads at a time because I eat salads very frequently. So I have a lot of different types of lettuce in here. Cabbage, kale, kale is another great one. So I've got some kale in here. Beets, any kind of root vegetable, any kind of like leafy green vegetable is good as well. These are my Swiss chard. Love these. This is the rainbow Swiss chard. Again, a dollar store buy, and these are one of my favorites to grow. They germinate well and they're very prolific and the colors are just gorgeous. I love using these for my vegetarian lasagna, so that's a must. Things like cauliflower, celery, spinach, those are all in this pile of stuff that I'm going to start for cold crops. Now we're going to move into the fun stuff, kind of the spring, summer starts. All right, so first off, I'm going to start with my cucumbers. I've got 2 packs here. I've tried both of these. They're tried, they're true. I know they're going to produce, and I know I'm going to use them. One is a slicer cucumbers. This is the muncher cucumber from Baker Creek. And the other one here is the pickling cucumber because I love pickles, and pickles are a requirement in this house, and I go through them like crazy. So as many pickles as possible for both fermented pickles or refrigerator pickles and for canning, necessary. Next, I have some of my squash kind of section. So I've got these crooknecks. These were fun. They did really well in pots for us last year. This is also a dollar store. My zucchinis, which are a must, and I will grow a bunch of these. I tend to succession sow them. I grow these in pots as well, and they do fabulous. So I'll tend to do, 3 at a time. And then once I've picked from them a few times, I'll go ahead and sow some new ones. And then I'll just pull those old ones and replace them with the new ones and keep them going. All right, next is going to be my peas and beans. Very basic stuff here, guys. Just what I know did good. I got these seeds here, bush green beans, from a seed swap a couple years ago. And I grew these last year in pots on the deck, and they did stellar. They did so good. So I don't know who I got these from, what their backstory is. I don't know, but they do well, so I'm growing them. We got the red noodle beans, the long beans, okay? So these are My Gardener, but I know, you know, a lot of different companies have these. These are like the really long beans that I had growing on the trellis. So there's my beauty factor. Plus they're also extremely prolific. We're doing rattlesnake pole beans again because Tyler grew these and they were prolific as all get out. I mean, I think we still have some in the freezer. I'm going to also do the Cherokee Trail of Tears. Again, very prolific. They did great the year that we planted them. I don't think I did them last year, but I think I did them the year before. These can be used fresh, or you can dry them out and save them as dried beans. And I also have here, these are new ones I actually got from Homesteaders of America from Haas. So these are Mr. Big Pea. I don't know, they look cool, so I'm gonna try them. I really like peas. I don't have my sugar snap peas here this year, so I don't know if I'm gonna regret that or not. So next we're gonna move into kind of like the squash and gourds. Loofah, obviously. Those were saved from our garden last year. I got these here, which I really want to try, okay? And we tried to grow them last year and they did not do anything. Like, I don't even think we put anything in the ground. They just didn't germinate. Gourd hard shell Corsican. So they're gourds, but you can make bowls out of them, right? How cool. I insist that I need to make this successful. So that's on there. We've got different kinds of squash. So my winter squash, spaghetti squash, butternut squash, you know, all that stuff is in here. Okra. Another thing that we're going to try new this year, I got huckleberry. So I wanted to start with those. Don't know much about them. Obviously, we've never grown them. I don't know if I've ever eaten like huckleberry anything, but you can use them for jams and pies and stuff, so I wanted to get that. So next we're going to move on to my favorite part, and probably the hardest decision this year, which is the tomatoes. So my concept here with the tomatoes, oh, it's so hard. Tyler said he's not growing tomatoes this year, which just about broke my heart, because that's a whole bed of tomatoes that is no longer. He's growing some other stuff. So I really feel the need to go for productivity here. Something terrible, because now our tomato stash is going to be cut in half, essentially. There's two things. I've got my raised bed down in the big garden, and then we usually have tomatoes on the deck as well. And so for me in my head right now, what I want to do is I want cherry tomatoes, small tomatoes on the deck. I like that. Number one, because we're out there a lot, so they get tended to more so than like me going down and picking 120 cherry tomatoes from the garden. It's easier, like they get seen more often, and I'm sitting there more often. So cherry tomatoes on the deck, and then the big ones are going to be down in the garden. So I've got these yellow pear cherry tomatoes. We got these from my neighbor, and I saved the seeds. So we're going to try those this year. I'm going to put those up on the deck. I'm not usually a big fan of yellow tomatoes. Like, the flavor's off for me, and it just doesn't do it for me. But I also want some color here. I'm trying to get color from our small tomatoes. This one here is the Mexican midget tomato from My Gardener, so we're gonna put those up on the deck, and then I'm also doing my blue goldberry cherries again. So the Mexican midget and the blue goldberry cherries I've grown before, and I was very happy with. Those are gonna be up on the deck. Now, as far as down in the garden beds, I can get 3 varieties there. I usually do 3 varieties of three plants of 3 different varieties. Right off the bat, Cherokee purple tomato is happening. This is my favorite tomato in the entire world. I grew them for the first time last year, and I absolutely loved them, and I could not get enough of these. They are so flavorful, and they're sweet, but they're not too sweet. But like, and the colors on them, you get a beautiful color selection. They're really deep, like burgundy, and like with highlights of purple in them. They're absolutely gorgeous. So they're really good on like tomato sandwiches or on salads. So this one I'm definitely growing for sure. Now is when I struggled, was, okay, am I going for productivity, or am I going to try something new? So at some point, Jess from Roots and Refuge and her cousin Amy had sent a care package to me a while back, and Jess had included in a bunch of seeds. So I decided I didn't want to do all the same tomatoes. I like the excitement of trying something new. So I'm going with a couple that Jess had sent me. All right, so this first one here is from My Gardener, and it's called the the Black Seaman tomato here. And so, and this is going to be a bigger one. So I was really excited to try this. It's something different that I've never tried before. But at the same time, it's going to fill that, like it's a bigger size tomato, which is what my goal is to have down there. And then the next one here is called the Hillbilly tomato. This one's also from Jess. So, and this again is a bigger one. So I'm excited. And again, like you're getting a little bit of, it's more of an orange instead of a red. So you're getting like different colors in there. So those will be my 3 tomatoes that go in the raised bed this year. And I'm saying this and I'm repeating this, not to convince you all, but to convince me not to change, to just stick with the plan, man. So that's what I'm doing. All right. I've got some herbs here and they're really going to be basic, like my standard, my must go to. So basil, lemon balm, chamomile, dill, basic stuff that we grow every single year that I know I can count on. So moving on, I've got my peppers. So last year I focused on peppers a lot and we tried peppers in the raised garden bed that's closest to the chickens because I have not had much success at all with growing stuff in that garden bed. So I tried peppers over there and they did stellar. Okay, so I have pulled some peppers that I grew last year that I was really impressed with to grow again this year. And those include the Jimmy Nardello peppers. These ones here I got from M.I. Gardener. They get about this long, okay? They curl a little bit, but they get about this long, and they are so versatile. So I have stuffed these for meals. I've also used them fresh, like chopped them up and used them fresh, and I also have canned them, and they are amazing in all different venues, all different ways. Next here is the Adjavarsky, and I might be butchering that, peppers. So these ones here from Baker Creek. These are great. These are big too. I mean, these get about this big. And again, fabulous for eating fresh or canning. I love the concept of being able to can the peppers because it's just so easy now in the middle of winter when we don't have anything growing to just run and grab one of my canned peppers and use it in anything, and they work out stellar. I'm gonna do shishito again. We're doing some paprika because paprika is one of the spices that we use the absolute most of, so it makes sense that we grow some. Green peppers, I'm trying. I've not had much success with these before in the past, but I'm determined to make them work. These I got from the dollar store. Maybe I should just invest in a different brand, but we buy green peppers every week, so it's important that we grow them. And then banana peppers because I also love to have those on hand. Last but not least, I got my Thai peppers. I got a ton of seeds from my Thai pepper plants. These are my favorite. I grow 1 or 2 plants and that is all you need because there are so many peppers that grow on these. And then I'll string them to dry, and then once they're totally dried out, I grind them up and I put that on everything. Pizza, pasta, chicken, you name it, I put it on there. I just the other day made this amazing meat sauce for spaghetti and I added some of it in there and it was stellar. Now it's now my most favorite pasta sauce, which I'm a picky pasta sauce person, so I nailed it and I'm proud. All right, last but not least, before this video gets any longer, is my flowers. Okay, so I have all different kinds of flowers here. I will hit some highlights of them. But flowers were not didn't have a big appeal to me when I started gardening. My biggest push for when I started gardening was I want to grow my own food. Year after year, you learn the importance of having specific plants, including flowers, in your garden. And there are many benefits of having different types of flowers in your garden. Overall, my goal here is to attract beneficial insects. And so the reason for that being is that if you don't have beneficial insects, things such as bees or butterflies, then you don't have anything pollinating your flowers on your food plants, okay? When a plant grows, and we're gonna use, say, zucchini as an example. When a zucchini plant grows, when it's ready to actually form a fruit, it's going to put off a flower first. And the zucchini flowers are absolutely beautiful. If you don't know what it looks something similar to like our logo because it is my most favorite flower. So the zucchini flower will open up, okay? And it's going to be one of two things. It's either going to be a female or a male flower. If it's a male flower, it's just a flower with a stem. If it's a female flower, it's got the flower, and then right behind the flower is going to be a ball, and then the stem. You really want those pollinators, those bees and those butterflies, to come into the garden because you need them to land on the male flowers, and then you need them to go and land on the female flowers to pollinate said female flower. If you don't have insects doing that for you, and you want to grow food, you need to do it yourself, which is not an easy task. You would have to go out there with a small brush, something like an artist brush, and you would have to rub on the inside of the male flower, and then you'd have to go back and you have to rub on the inside of the female flower, and you would need to go back and forth and hit all of the blooms in order for you to get fruit. That's the benefit of having things like flowers in your garden, is that it's going to attract the bees and the butterflies and the beneficial bugs to come and land on the flowers, both your pretty planted flowers and your food plant flowers, and do the work for you. So how would you know if you have a pollinator issue? Well, an example again with the zucchini would be, usually zucchinis will get long and full here, right? The way that I realized we needed to incorporate flowers into our garden bed was because our zucchinis would grow a couple inches and then the ends would die off and rot, and it would never grow to its full potential. And I did some homework and I realized that that was because we didn't have enough pollinators in our garden and it wasn't a fully pollinated bloom. There's benefits to having flowers. I'm going to be doing my sunflowers for the sake of trying to get these really big again. These are the Mongolian giant sunflowers from Baker Creek. I did try growing them last year, but none of my sunflowers did very good last year. So we're gonna give them another try. I got dahlias, zinnias. The cosmos is something that I'm going to try to start from seed this year. I did accidentally grow cosmos a few years ago in our cottage garden. I think it just came with from a flower mix that I just threw in there, and they were gorgeous. So now I'm gonna grow them on purpose. I've got my calendula for medicinal purposes. I've also got helichrysum in here that I want to try and do for medicinal purposes, and then I got a new one here, the aster. And I just think these are beautiful. I want to make sure that I'm growing cut flowers so that I can put them in the house. And so that's my goal for them. Last but not least here is the bachelor button. So you've seen these in the garden over the last couple of years. I absolutely love them. I like to put them in the pots, the hanging pots in the big garden. I love them because they're just a really pretty, purpley blue color, and it's unlike anything else that I'm growing in the garden, so it really stands out and pops. And plus they do really well in those little pots. So I'm going to fill those pots with bachelor buttons this year. So that was kind of the quick run through, believe it or not. I've got a lot more seeds here, but kind of the quick run through of what the plan is to start with for the garden. The next step is going to be actually sitting down and drawing up how much of this would actually fit and where it is all going to go. But we do have some pretty exciting ideas for maybe getting some extra space in the garden this year. So make sure that you stay tuned because this year is definitely not going to disappoint. I'm really excited to get to try a couple new things as well as bring back my solid favorites. I'm so excited for this. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for my first tomato sandwich with my Cherokee purple tomatoes. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I look forward to sharing more with you soon.